Okay, let's get started. Friends, Romans, countrymen, borrowing your ears. You don't have any grammar words in the audience today? Hi. My name's Todd, he, him. I've been costuming since 2007 or so, and I work with a variety of techniques. I've done foam work. If you saw the Iron Man Mark 17 in the Masquerade last night, that was mine. We've also done a couple other projects I've done with my foam, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Michelangelo, and I'm working on an Iron Man Hulkbuster I got from a friend, and the thing's going to be like 11 or 12 feet tall, so I don't know if I'll be able to bring it here. So I'll introduce Knightmage here.
Hello everyone, Michael Wilson or Knightmage.
Do you hear me?
Oh, that's loud. Michael Wilson or Knightmage. I've been cosplaying since 2012. Got into it really for love of Halloween, and it's just now really become my passion. Today I've done over 360 costumes. I would say at least 80% of them have some sort of foam work into it. And that's a nutshell.
So, first question to answer, why foam? Well, first of all, it's cheap. Yeah, it's cheap. Easy to find and easy to work with. Easy to prototype with it. You can paint it, decorate. Like this one here, it's a foam prop that I purchased actually. But you can tell it. It's got the sort of leather wrap and real sort of like faked.
Yeah, foam is, this is very versatile. Pretty much anything you want to create, you can make out of foam. I would say, honestly say, the majority of the costumes that you see that's made out of armor, like the Iron Man's and Halo outfits and big prop weapons, is typically made out of foam because it's easy to work with, it's extremely inexpensive, it's lightweight, it's durable, and there's tons of different foams, so we'll actually talk about a few different things.
Yeah. I think the only restriction for using foam is if you're like approved or applying for the 501st Legion or the Manual Works costume clubs. They recommend that you don't use foam because there's a trade-off. Foam isn't completely durable, and if you've been hacking at it, if you've been wearing it for a while, if you've been doing simulated battles or something like that, you might get damaged.
So the most popular type of foam is the EVA foam. Everyone's seen it. Typically it's the format foams, the interlocking format foams you find in like daycares and garages and stuff like that. That's the primary foam that everyone uses. Me, I go to Harbor Freight. I love Harbor Freight. You can get a 4-pack of that for about $11. 4 squares for $11. Those squares usually come in the thickness of about 5 millimeter. There's another kind of foam, same kind, except for it's in rolls. You get it at Harbor Freight, $11. A roll about the size of this table, $11. That's a little bit thinner, so that's about 3 to 4 millimeters. So depending on how thick you want your armor or prop piece, that's going to depend on the foam you get.
I've been local craft stores like Joann's and Michael's and Hobby Lobby, if you can insist. They also sell EVA foam, craft foam. Now you can get them in the different shapes and colors at Michael's or Joann. Hobby Lobby, you can get little cross shapes. They're kind of conservative that way.
We had a quick question. Do we have a question? If you guys have any questions at any time, raise your hand or raise your card up. So the foam that he's talking about right there is the craft foams, the little silly wing foams everyone's worked with in grade school. Yeah, Hobby Lobby has it, Joann Fabrics, Michael's Craft Store. Those come in different colors. They come in just like sheets of paper pretty much. They come in different thicknesses, 5mm, 3mm, and 2mm.
Can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of paints and adhesives you like to use?
Yes.
Yep, that's done, that's on our, we're gonna be talking about that.
So-
Oh, okay.
It's on the agenda. So yeah, depending on what kind of armor you're going for, thickness and stuff, that's going to depend on what kind of foam you get. There's other kinds of foam. There's the clay foam, the foam clay. It's pretty much just like Play-Doh. It's air, what's the word before it's sunny?
Air drying.
Air drying, thank you. So the best thing, the most important thing is once you open it and get whatever you need out, make sure you seal it up nice and tight because it will drop very fast.
Yeah, they used to sell that sort of thing at Michael's. I don't know if they still have it, but it'd be good for filling in little molds or pieces or whatever.
You can make little molds out of it, actually. It's good for filling gaps, good for trim and stuff. So basically when it dries, it's going to be the same consistency as your EVA foam.
I have seen a tool, battery or AC power, I don't know, that heats up the wire and you use that styrofoam to shape it. If you were to use that EVA foam, would it work similarly or would it start a fire?
No, it works simply. Yep. Yeah, we're actually going to get into that. So,
Next on the agenda, we're going to talk about tools.
yeah, tools you need.
So, most importantly, you need a sharp knife, like an X-Acto knife or a utility knife. And a way to keep your blade sharp, if you've got a hone, leather hone or something like that, you can do that. Otherwise, just get a big pack of blades from a hardware store or from Michael's or something like that. You'll be glad you did, because with dull tools and dull knives, you're trying to force your way through and you end up cutting yourself, and that's not a good deal. I mean, everybody has to bleed on the project a little bit.
A good pair of scissors. I like to use scissors. You can't use like craft scissors, it's not going to cut through, and do not use your fabric scissors on it. It's going to really just ruin it. So yeah, a good pair of scissors. You can use the X-Acto knife, a box cutter. You can use a heat knife. It's pretty much whatever your preference is, but box cutter, X-Acto knife, or scissors.
Okay, and then shaping it, sorry, I'll get to that in just a second. For shaping and tooling things, you'll want a sandpaper, you'll want some sandpaper or power sanders. Dremel tool works real nice for sanding. You can get all sorts of accessories, little sanding drums and discs, and all that. You had a question here?
Yeah, so you mentioned that clay foam would be compatible with EVA. Is there any other like staple base materials that are compatible, and are there any ones out there that are definitely not compatible with EVA?
I would say I think everything's compatible. I mean, main two things would be thermoplastics and clay foam. Like if you're trying to do like trim or anything like that, those two, the thermoplastics, or which is either Warbler or Waterflex, and clay foam.
Yeah, if you're working with, if you want to add like little accents to them, and they're too detailed to sculpt out foam, you could potentially use Warbler, Waterflex, the little friendly plastic beads, which are the technical name for the plastic is polycaprolactone. Is there a big word for the morning?
This is those little plastic beads we like buy vampire fangs and the whole plastic.
So I mentioned Dremel tools. You'll also want a heat gun for shaping things. It's kind of like a hairdryer on steroids.
You cannot use a hair dryer to heat your phone.
Right.
Yes. Because I was told that you can't do it, I'm like, I can do it. So yeah, a good heat gun you can get at any hardware store, Harbor Freight, $25, $30 is going to last you. Just make sure it's a high temperature heat gun. That's good. So you mentioned Dremel, heat gun.
Knife, I mentioned knives. Rulers, like steel rulers, so you can lay out your shapes and cut those out. Get a nice sharp edge in them. If you have a power saw, like a bandsaw or a jigsaw or something like that, those are really nice for cutting precise angles. Like, when I was putting together my Iron Man Hulkbuster, there were pieces that I had to meet at an angle. So what I would do is I measure the angle, measure the difference from 180 degrees, and then use that to cut out the difference that I needed on the pieces. Blue square right there.
So you said to not use the heat gun as a hair dryer. Theoretically, if we cut out the third, second, whatever degree paper, could you use?
Wait.
Theoretically.
I mean, you definitely don't want to use a heat gun as a hair dryer.
I get it.
Like that, that's terrible.
Yeah, you'd set your hair on fire and it'd smell bad.
Don't do that. So yeah, the basics. Basically, the basics. All you would need to actually just get started is the foam, heat gun, your knives. Honestly, whatever adhesive you want to use. So talk about adhesives. It's always kind of a debate with cosplayers between hot glue and contact cement. There's pros and cons to both. Personally, me, I like hot glue because it's a fast connection. But if you want cleaner seams, you're going for more of a professional costume contest look and stuff like that, very clean. Contact cement is going to be your best friend. Contact cement though is very toxic, so make sure you use it in a very well ventilated area.
Unless you have brain cells you don't mind parting with.
We have one magical value jar of barge cement. Where do I replace it? I can't find it anywhere.
Really?
Is it the stuff that has toluene in it?
This one happens to be toluene free. But either or, with or without toluene, I can't find a replacement. What's going to happen when I run out of this?
Go to Tandy Leather, and I believe they have that in their adhesives and tools section.
I don't know. The size of this, though.
Yeah. You might be able to find it in Menards and Home Depot, and they're okay. You've looked. Right. Or from Amazon, perhaps. You can get anything.
Yeah. More likely it's going to be online. Review that. But hot glue gun, you can get that at any craft store. Obviously, the bars make it at the boardroom.
Yeah, I've also used CA and cyanoacrylate adhesive. Get that at any good hobby store. Like Hub Hobby and Ridgefield is a good place to get various flavors of CA adhesive.
You can also, okay.
Two things. Also, automotive, sealant repair. I've worked with foam, worked with this. And then you said that when you're heating it up, as I'm looking at starting to try to work with the thicker stuff, do you need gloves? Does it get that hot?
No.
Or is it just within a few seconds it cools enough?
No, it's within a few seconds. We're going to go over that. So you have all your tools. You also use super glue if you want to use super glue. Super glue is just extremely messy. But so now you have all your tools. Those are just, like I said, the basics. If you've never worked with foam, my suggestion is always go and get a pattern first. Pattern's going to help you know the angles and geometry of how to make cuts and where folds need to go and so forth. So who here has heard of Epicura?
What was that?
Epicura?
P-E-P-A-K-U-R-A. It's a Japanese paper folding program. You can get the models online, the 3D models, and then you can print them out and print them out on cardstock.
I'm going to pass my phone around. Swipe, that's on you. I'm just saying. So right there on the phone is a file just for a basic helmet from Evil Ted Smith. Basically, you just go online, you find patterns for literally anything you want. But I always suggest Evil Ted Smith. He has a lot of cool, just basic pattern designs. So say you want to make a helmet, you would buy that pattern for $5 from Evil Ted Smith, and then he would. Evil Ted. Oh, Epicura. P-E-P-A-K-U-R-A. So yeah, you buy a pattern for like $5 to $10, depending on the size, what it is. He'll send it to you in an email, you download it, print it out on sheets of paper, and cut it out. Then you're gonna, once you cut it out, you're gonna trace it on your phone, cut out the phone, and now you put it back together like a puzzle. Typically, most people who sell patterns, they'll have a instructional video to go along with it. So even Ted Smith does, Kamuna Cosplay, Punch Props, SKS Props. There's tons of people on Etsy. So literally whatever you want to make, someone's probably got a file for it.
Yeah. I was going to mention a few things about planning out your build first. Like, you want reference images, do a Google image search or print out stills from your favorite video game or whatever. Make some concept sketches. Plan to put some secret pockets in there because video game, movie characters never have pockets. They never seem to need anything, but as cosplayers, we're, you want to put your phone somewhere, you want to put your room key, things like that. And also think about things like, can you bend your joints? Can you bend your forearms? With my Iron Man last night, it's like I could go to about this, but actually, full range of motion was kind of out. So that would have helped. And think about, will you need help getting into or out of your armor? Like I needed help last night getting the forearms and the gloves on. Another thing about design, you'll want to measure yourself and log some room for ease or, like in fabric. Make a loaf for some ease.
That's the great thing with the patterns is you can size them up or down. So, I mean, it really is just the cost of your paper. So once you cut the pattern out, you can use that pattern, tape it together so you have it just in paper form. If you need to size it up, okay, you can resize it, just print out more paper. If you need to downsize it, you can downsize it. So yeah, you have that pattern forever. And then you can also modify it however you want once you have your basic film.
But you said you could just resize it. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like digitally? Do you mean like
On the
trace
computer.
it bigger or like?
Well, on the computer, just size it up. Like, so when you print it out, you're just going to be printing out more sheets of paper. So if it takes like 3 sheets for one, if you need to make it bigger, it might take 4.
Yeah, you can size, there's options within Mercurial Designer to size it up. So if you need to print like 105% or 108% or something like that, you can do that. Back there in the yellow shirt.
I guess with that, tips for like dry fitting, before you go and cut your home, like for something like helmet, how do you try to say, oh, okay, this is too big, too small, before you start cutting, you need to start again?
Dry fitting. So, yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah, your dry fitting, like you were saying, dry fitting is basically using just the paper pattern or duct tape pattern, whatever it is you have. Actually, that's going to be your dry fit.
Yeah, making a duct tape dummy is a good investment. If you've heard from the sewing panels, what you can do is get an old set of pajamas or sweats from the thrift store, get a friend and about 10 rolls of duct tape.
Friend that you really trust.
Yeah. Wrap yourself in duct tape, or have somebody wrap you in duct tape, and then once you're fully wrapped, they can cut the duct tape carefully and get you out of there, and then you can retape up the seams and then stuff it with old newspapers or foam or packing peanuts or things of that nature. That's really helpful for prototyping and visualizing what your armor's going to look like. You had a question there?
Yeah, other than the glue that you mentioned as a hazard, is there any other protection equipment that you use on a regular basis that's nice to have in your kit?
I mean, a respirator, and that's going to come in handy with the glues and the paints. Spray paints. And sanding, yeah, if you're doing a lot of dremeling.
Yeah, sanding raises a lot of dust.
Yeah. And eye protection. So eye protection and respirators.
Yeah, if you like your eyes, a lot more serious.
So you have your foam, you've cut your foam, you've made your pattern, you just have pieces laying here now, so now you're ready to shape it. So that's where you're going to get your heat gun. Your heat gun, you're just going to go over the foam nice and evenly. You're not going to do too close to it, you're not going to go too far from it, just kind of like maybe about, I'll say, about 10 inches from it, and just go nice and even. You can burn foam, so you'll know because the color of the foam is like a light gray already. When you start to go over it, it's going to turn like a little bit darker gray. If you're starting to burn it, it's going to turn black. Once you do that, once you burn foam, that piece is ruined, wherever you burned it at. And so now we can do that image it.
Yeah.
But just go over it nice and even. As you start to shape it, it's going to be warm, but it's not going to be not manageable. Start shaping it however you need to shape it. Typically what I'll do is if I need like a round shape or whatever, I'll actually just kind of fold it and just sit on it. I'll just start working on something else. It usually cools and will keep it shape after about 30 seconds or so.
You can also use bowls or round dishes or things like that to press your foam into there and shape it, particularly for the ladies in their chest region.
So once you've heated it up, you've shaped it, whatever shape you need, now you can start gluing it pieces together, back together. Once you do that, you pretty much have your helmet or whatever it is that you want to do. Any questions so far? That process, you make pattern, cut the pattern. Yep.
After the foam's been heated up and shaped, does it retain flexibility?
Yes. Yep. And that's kind of also with like between the contact cement and the hot glue. Contact cement is going to actually give you a little bit more flexibility too. The hot glue, the seams are going to be a little bit more rigid. So that's another pro for contact cement.
Once you heat it up and shape it, if it gets hot again, are you going to try and go back to flat, or is it just going to soften?
It's not going to get that hot again unless you physically try and heat it up again.
Yeah, if your car is painted black and you're working under the hot sun and you put your armor in it, then maybe it'll get a little too hot.
It will. And it will revert back to its original flat shape, and your seams will pull apart.
So yeah, if you're going to be in the heat, contact cement is going to be a little bit better than hot glue. Especially now, just to talk about the thermoplastics. Thermoplastics 100% will melt in like a hot car or parade or something like that.
Yeah, so Warla, Wonderflex, PLA, that sort of thing.
How is, say you have a sewing machine that can do leather and thicker materials.
Yeah.
How is a quick zigzag stitch down the middle for connecting EVA foam? Is it like more likely to punch through it and like rip it apart, or is it like going to do a decent job holding seams together? Also, yeah, I had some plastic vampire teeth in my car. In 2015, I left them on the dashboard. I came back out to get them. They're still stuck in my console.
Permanent decoration now. Yeah, you can absolutely sew foam.
I haven't done it personally, but it is possible.
Yeah, it is possible. You just have to watch your thickness. I don't typically like doing it, but yeah, you can do it.
If you have a really good sewing machine and it's got some really good. Let's see. How about detailing? Let's talk about detailing a little bit. So,
just a few steps.
Yeah.
So we got it down. We're ready to actually like start. Well, we want to talk about detailing before we paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll want to start by making your big basic parts first, like your helmet or your breastplate or your greaves. Then you can add embellishments. You can add textures, greaves as we call them in the Star Wars world, accent pieces or things like that. For example, when I did my this is a 3D printing project, but when I did my Dr. Doom, I made the big armor pieces and then I 3D printed little accents like scroll work and things like that, and hearing them on there. One of the things that, I'm going to recommend this PDF trilogy called the Foam Smithing Trilogy, and it's by Bill Doran, D-O-R-A-N. And kind of add in my outline from his work here. It's 3 PDFs. One is construction, one is finishing and painting, and one of them is strapping and putting things in place so you can wear it and make it look cool. So he says, armor has layers like an onion, and you can carve it, you can add scales, dragon scales, you can make it look like it's got screws or rivets, that sort of thing. Engraving is a good thing to do too. Like, there are a few characters engraved on this sword here, and what you can do for that is to carve it in with a utility knife, and then heat the surface up, and then heat kind of spreads the cut edges open.
This is good for making like wood grain, if you're making like a wood shield or something like that.
And you'll want to, I wrote down here, you'll want to, if you don't want your edges to come to a square, you can finish them off. You can use your Dremel tool to grind them to a point or a bevel or something along those lines. And you can also simulate the stitching too. If you really want something that looks like it's been stitched, you can use your Dremel tool to carve into the foam and make it look like you actually stitched it together. You can also do battle damage or weathering. You can make little knife cuts in there. You can hack it with a Dremel tool.
My cat uses this.
Yeah, I was thinking cats and fabric crafting, that you can a separate panel.
But honestly, battle damage is really fun to do. So we were talking about the basic tools, but the other added tools that you can use, the Dremel. The Dremel is going to be for any kind of sanding you want to do. It's good for making like skid marks, that type of stuff too. Rounding off edges. Also a wood burner. You can also do a lot of good, cool engraving with a wood burner.
Wood burner or heat knife.
Yep, that's good.
Those are good tools to use.
So you have, so you've kind of made your embellishments, you put everything on, you're ready to paint your piece. A lot of different paints you could use. But before you do that, you need to decide, do you want to keep your foam, your helmet, your piece hard, or do you want to keep it soft, or do you want to harden it up? I like to keep my foam soft, so I can just stuff it in a suitcase or luggage, whatever, and it's going to bounce back. So just know, the more you harden your foam, the harder it's going to be to store. If you do decide you want to harden your foam, a lot of different things you can do. The easiest thing is Mod Podge. Get Mod Podge. It's just basically a glue. You get at any craft store. You're just going to coat it down, just brush it on, let it dry. You're going to sand it down so it's nice and smooth. Put some more coats until you get the solidness of the piece you want. And then you can go from there. You can use wood glue.
Yeah, wood glue is also a good choice. You'll apply several coats. You'll probably want to sand in between coats of wood glue.
Wood glue is going to take more coats than the Mod Podge, but it's a cheaper, good alternative too.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are probably two most popular things you can do. If you want to keep your foam soft, before you paint, you can always plastic dip. Plastic dip is just a truck bed rubber coating stuff. You don't have to do this stuff. It's called sealing your foam. You don't have to do it. Basically, when we're talking about like the foam, durability of it, it will start to crack over time. Basically, you're sealing your foam with the plastic dip. If it's going to crack in 6 months without the plastic dip, it's going to last another like a year with the plastic dip. So you're just kind of the longevity of the foam.
Yeah, I don't think foam has an expiration date or anything like that per se. But I made my Ninja Turtle costume. I did the back shell out of different layers of foam, different layers of different thicknesses of craft foam, foreign foam and EVA foam that laminated those all together so they look like turtle scales. And then I sprayed those all in plastic dip. Again, plastic dip I also call toxic death spray. So use that in a well-ventilated area.
I Plastic dip does come in different colors. You go to AutoZone or any kind of automotive store, you'll find a lot of variety of colors. The best, honestly, to use is just black. It goes on really smooth. They do make a brush-on plastic dip too, so you can use that if you don't really want to use a spray. That is still toxic though. So once you've sealed your foam, and another reason why you want to seal your foam is because when you go to actually put your real paint on, foam is very dense, so it has all these little pores in it. When you go to heat your foam up, you're going to actually see it seal up, so that's why it turns like a darker gray. When you go to put your paint on, now your paint is just sitting on a nice, clean, smooth surface. So say you did not heat your foam up or you didn't plastic dip at all, then all that paint, if you have like a bright red paint, it's going to turn like a more of a crimson color because it's seeping into the foam. With you sealing it with the plastic dip or heating it up, then it's going to, that red paint is going to sit nice and true color. Make sense?
Well, I found this spray-on primer, that's made by primer, Krylon. I tried that out. I wasn't totally impressed with it. I've noticed some abrasion where the paint has been rubbing off the primer pieces, so I'm gonna have to redo some of that. But I think the plastic dip or the glue method's a little better, but you can try the Krylon primer. Oh, we had a question, somebody in black there in the middle. Yeah, yeah.
So once that, your foam does start to, extrusion or not, once your foam does start to crack or dull or, all the various things that can happen to it, are there ways to salvage it? Or if you start to see it happening, are there ways to, try and prevent more damage and, repair damage that's there? Or is it pretty much a done deal and you gotta redo it?
I mean, you can always revisit, repaint. As far as it starts to wrinkle or crack a little bit, there's not too much you can do. Honestly, it's not gonna be that noticeable, depending on how well you painted to begin with, you know what I mean? But yeah, honestly, if you start to see those little wrinkles or cracks, there's not much you can do other than just putting more paint on, just fresh coats of paint.
Do you have any tips for getting a well-ventilated space in the winter?
If you have a basement, for example, what I did is I've got a spray painting tent that I got from Home Depot, and I put it's got a hole in the back that fits a vent fan. So, well, it's designed to fit a box fan. I got a vent fan for your bathroom. So I hooked that up and then I extended some laundry venting through one of the windows. So when I turn the vent fan on, everything is sucked out of the spray painting tent and vented to the outside world. Now, if you don't have a basement, I guess open windows and a bunch of box fans work for that too. Question there? Using black?
Brand new to all of this. So do you recommend gluing it together and then painting, or are there instances where it's more helpful to paint before you glue it 3D? Because obviously with the seams and stuff,
I would glue it together and then paint.
If you're using, if your one solid headpiece is going to be all red, then yeah, glue it together, then paint. If you have trim that needs to be purple or a different color, then I would paint that and then put the trim on after you painted the red onto it, you know what I mean? Unless you like to hand paint, unless you like to acrylic paint, you can just glue it all together and then go that way.
Otherwise, you use plenty of masking tape and a lot of patience.
Well, I was just gonna say, I live in an apartment and they make spray boots for made for model cars. and they have like filters, they have the explosion-proof fans, so I don't have those for my apartment.
Where'd you get that?
I just got it from Amazon, but I bet any place that sells like stuff for making model cars, because that's what it's designed for, it's designed to spray your model car.
Can you say that louder?
Oh, sorry, they make these little portable, they collapse spray booths for model cars. If you just look for, I think, like spray booth for model car, that's what they're designed for. They collapse, they fit on your table, they vent outside, they have the explosion-proof fan and multiple filter stages. I live in an 800 square foot apartment, that's what I use.
So you have your piece together, you've primed it with either plastic dip or you've hardened it with Mod Podge or wood glue. So now you're ready to paint. Lots of different paints you can use. I like to just use spray paint. I'll use I'll go to Walmart, get the Krylon Color Master or Rust-Oleum. You can get that at Walmart or.
But never mix, don't mix Krylon and Rust-Oleum, they don't cooperate with each other.
Yeah, they do, which is weird. But if you use acrylic paints, any kind of acrylic paint, for like the hand paint, that's fine. I do a lot of airbrushing. You can airbrush, but I don't suggest using airbrush paint as your base. The airbrush paint is typically water-based, so when you go to actually use that as your base, you're not going to get that true color. So if you're going to airbrush, use that as highlighting over whatever oil-based paint you're using.
Question back there?
Are there particular types of airbrushing paint that you'd recommend or brands that you'd recommend?
Createx or Wicked Colors.
Thank you.
And actually, with the Createx, since it is water-based, you can use that on your skin. So if you need like a quick makeup job on your skin, so you can actually use it for that. For a good airbrush kit, if you want an airbrush, Harbor Freight for they sell like a 6-gun kit and an air compressor for like $180. Yeah, it's good. This is a really good start.
You said Createx and what?
Createx and Wicked Colors. Wicked Colors is going to have more vibrant, neonish colors. Createx is more of your basic color wheel.
Can you spell that first one?
Createx, C-R-E-A-T-E-X.
Like create one with an accent. A couple other options that are about acrylic paints for leather working. You can get those at a Tandy Leather Factory. Enamel paints, but those take a week to cure. Lacquer dries very quickly. Oil paints, not really good for your foam smithing, or not really good for your base layers and all that, but they're good for weathering. Like if you want to have oil stains or make it look like you've been to the mud and all that. Rub and buff is also a good option. You can get that in a little tube. It's kind of paste-like. You can rub that on and then buff it to a nice shiny.
So after you've painted, if you want, you can kind of, go with the rub and buff for a nice little shine. Also, go to any auto store and get an engine enamel. That's going to bring the colors out a little more. Actually, that's going to kind of coat it too, so it's going to be like your sealant. Questions so far? Kind of running through stuff. Yeah.
So which paints are best at maintaining flexibility?
So there is actually, spray paint's going to be good. Acrylics are going to crack faster. There is Plaid FX, which is specifically made to be flexible. It's a flexible paint, so it's going to be just a little bit more expensive. But if you have, if you're making something that has a lot of curvatures to it and stuff, it might be worth the time and effort for that.
How's that spelled?
Plaid FX, PLAID-FX.
I would recommend buying those directly from the Plaid website. They are a little bit cheaper that way.
Yeah.
Okay, question from you in the green? Sure.
Sorry if I missed it. What do you use for adhesives?
So there's a couple different things you use. Hot glue is popular. Contact cement, super glue, scanning glue. It's going to be your preference. Like I said, I think with contact cement, it's a cleaner seam. But for me, like the hot glue is just a faster bond. I'm impatient. So, yes, I'd say always test the methods out. And that's the thing with cosplay in general is you're going to ask, 10 different cosplayers how to make one thing. You're going to get 10 different answers. And honestly, it's going to be about what works best for you. Yeah.
When you're working with permanent cements like contact cement, can you speak to the use of registration marks for matching curves?
Yeah, so with the patterns that you guys saw, there's actually registration marks on those. What registration marks are, they're basically the little divots you're going to make, so when you line things up, it lines up perfectly,
Yeah, it's when you see a pepicure pattern, it's going to be like cut this tab and fold this tab in. It's like attach tab A to slot B and so forth. When I was putting together the Hulkbuster armor, I had so many pieces of just just cut foam, and then I had the pepicure pattern that was printed out, so I was kind of playing match game with the pieces. I started writing things about match game, the 70s game with Gene Raybird and Gene's and Mike and Charles Nelson Riley on the pieces just to keep them straight from each other.
I was going to real quick say, and if if you don't get your seams completely flushed together, that's where the foam clay comes in handy, because you can just take a little bit of that and fill it in. And again, it's going to draw the exact same consistency as your foam.
So speaking of that, so with the thicker foams, I'm more used to working in wood. So do you overlap? Do you try to come exactly together?
You're always going to
thickness?
try to come exactly together. If you're doing curves, and this is where things get more advanced, but that's where you're going to get your when you cut your angle curves to actually make it curve, connect that way. But always you want to just try and make it together as best you can.
So if you have two seams if you're working from your pepicure pattern, you have two seams that meet at 130 degrees, you'll want to subtract 25 degrees from each of the sides, doing a little math. So you're taking 50 degrees out, so you'll take 25 degrees out from each of your sides, and that's sort of like a bandsaw or some sort of angle measuring jig would be really handy.
I just cut, man.
What about the really, really thin stuff?
Well, the thin, the 2mm craft foam, there's no way to do angle cuts on those. 5mm is the baseline for your angle cuts. The 2mm, those are always going to be hard to kind of get flushed together. Usually with those, your seams, you're going to have a little overlapping with those. But it's so thin that,
Similar question, but maybe there's something else. So that if you're doing a 90-degree angle, if you're making a box, if you're making is it the same kind of make a 45-degree angle, or do you reinforce on the back? You do for a 90 degrees.
it depends on the thickness of the foam you're using. If you're using just a thin 2mm, you might want to reinforce it also with you can use anything. If you're going inside, you can use a popsicle stick, you can use a small dowel rod. But the thicker the foam, you're not going to have to reinforce. So 5, 6mm, you won't have to reinforce it, it's going to be solid.
Yeah, I have pieces at an outside angle. No, wait, I'm at an inside angle like this, so if you're looking between my fingers, this section here this had nothing there, so I reinforce those with other scrap pieces of foam that I cut out. Let's take one more question, and we got about 15 minutes left. I want to talk about integrating, strapping, making the foam actually fit on your body so you can wear it as opposed to just painting it and having it sit and dry.
Can you talk a little bit
just briefly about other gap filling methods other than the foam clay?
I mean, hot glue, you can use a hot glue, you can just use a little bit more contact cement, you can use gap filler, you can use, it's like the expanding foam, which that can be a little bit tricky, and that's gonna be a harder seam too. But honestly, like caulking is great too.
That's good.
Yeah, again, it's your preference on what you want to work with, but any of those will be perfectly fine.
Okay, so once you've created your foam project and you've painted it and weathered it and it looks good and everything, you'll want to wear it. So that's where strapping comes in, where you'll want to have straps that actually fit it on your body. If you have two pieces like they would clamshell together, you can use magnets on each side of the piece to make them close. You'll want to go to some place that sells buckles and straps, and sewing stores are good for that. Also, Axeman Surplus. In fact, I recommend you go to Axeman Surplus for it. If nothing else, entertainment value. Read the signs on the displays. So, what do you want to say about strapping?
Yeah, so again, it's your preference. I don't like magnets only because they hurt when they pinch your skin. But you can use Cobra buckles. I use a lot of Velcro. If you're going to use Velcro, go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, get the industrial strength sticky back Velcro. That's going to be the best. However, if you're using anything sticky back, just remember that just that sticky back is not going to really adhere to the paint very well. So when you're painting, try not to paint on the underside that you're going to be sticking to your whatever suit or whatever. And also just put a little bit of hot glue on the back of the sticky back, just to give it a little bit extra hold. But yeah, magnets, buckles, buttons. Again, it's your preference. If you want, you could just glue it straight to a piece of fabric if you want.
That's an option.
Yeah, it just depends. But again, like we was saying earlier, depending on where your stress points are, your elbow joints and stuff like that, that's where you're going to want to leave gaps. So you don't want to try and just like glue something straight onto your elbow joint. You might want to actually cut it and then actually have a piece here and a piece here, so it comes together, but you still have that flexibility in that gap there.
Yeah, never hot glue anything to yourself, to your skin.
That last thing. If you do that though, just make sure, like if you have a spandex suit on, wear something underneath it, like a t-shirt or something, and just so there's not just directly onto your skin pretty much. But you can do it.
Points of experience.
Yeah, right. Real quick, so taking care of your phone. Phone does not breathe, so it's going to get hot and sweaty, and it's going to start to stink if if you're sweating and stuff. So clean your phone. You can clean your phone. Just don't freeze it. A little vodka water mixture will work. Vinegar and water mixture will work. But make sure you clean your phone. Storing your phone, if you want to put like a dryer sheet in your bin, see where you're storing it, that's going to preserve it a little bit too. Spiders and stuff.
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left, and is there anything that we haven't touched on, right, that you want to know about? Okay, you and the yellow mask.
So, I know that you each have many costumes that you made with this. How much storage space are we talking? How much?
I'll let Knightmage tell you how he stores 300 costumes in his house.
So I had to buy a house because
priorities.
Right. So I go to Walmart and I just get the gray totes bins. That's what I use. So I try and store like 3 costumes in a bin. So I'm about 100 bits, like stacks of bits, and they're all labeled. But again, that's why I don't harden my phone, is because I can put, you know, my RoboCop chest piece in with my tilt outfit, just stuff it in, and I know that it's going to bounce back. You know, it's going to be fine. So again, depending on how many, you know, costumes you're going to have and stuff, that's what you might want to think about how I'm going to store it. And if you just have a few, mannequins are great. You can make PVC pipe skeleton mannequins out of it. That's awesome. You display it on your duct tape mannequin. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm running out of space in my house, especially with the Hulkbusters, so I might have to stop making costumes for a while. Or sell some of the old ones. Or find a mini storage unit. Okay, you with the blue hair?
So, I think what you guys talked about, other kinds of foams, the EVA foam, thicker foam, or whatever you lacquer together for the turtle shell. What are some of those other types of foam, and what do you use them for?
Well, one thing I did for the edge of the turtle shell is it's kind of rough outline. Not outline, it's kind of rough. I use expanding foam for that, so I just sprayed expanding foam in a perimeter on the outside of the shell, and then after that was done, I kind of cut and filed that into shape.
I love making spikes out of like the foam clay. Those spikes, but I for like smaller 2mm foam, for me that's always just trim and just small designs, and then foam clay is usually for like bigger moldable pieces like skeleton models or something like that.
You mentioned a couple of times that you can get the foam core in different thicknesses, kind of 5mm to 2mm. I would assume that the thicker thicknesses are going to offer more durability and rigidity, but are there other differences in material properties worth noting?
I think it's really about the level of detail that you want. I mean, if you're, you know, you can consider making the base out of the flooring foam, and then add the detail piece with thinner foam to that.
Awesome.
The thicker stuff also maintains its shape better.
I mean, obviously the thicker is going to be harder to mold and shape, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit more durable, especially like you're going to be beating it up a little bit. But it's a preference again, it's your preference. But also with the foam, don't forget, so when we're talking about the format foams, one side is smooth, right? The other side is going to be textured. It's going to have like either like almost like a tire grid pattern, it looks like, or something. Sorry, diamond plate, yeah. Don't be afraid to use that other side for textures and for stuff. So like for Gizmo Duck, I use the other side for the tire tread. It's just,
yeah, I've seen a lot of Mass Effect armor that they use a textured side for that.
Yeah, so yeah, you're not just stuck using the smooth side.
You know, use the orange paper.
Yeah, I was curious about how you deal with edges, because if you use the flooring foam, it's fairly thick, and if you're doing like a breastplate or something, you look at the edge and you go, that's way thicker, it doesn't look like metal. Are there techniques to like thin the edges on where it's visible to make it look thinner?
That's your dribbling, you're sanding down, sanding it just to a point, and then also, I always say this, painting. To me, painting should be your most important process. To me, painting is like the Photoshop. You can cover anything up, you can make things look even more metal, and actually thin it out just using highlights and stuff like that. So even if your craftsmanship is not what you want it to be, if you need to just move forward, just really focus on the painting and the highlighting and the shadows. But yeah, using a Dremel. Using a Dremel can thin that.
On the back side or something?
On the front. So if you're using a breastplate, you need to thin out like you're talking about like right here around this area, or just anywhere?
Visible edges where it gives like,
so
it isn't a half-inch thing.
Yeah, so just basically on the edges, you're just going to keep dribbling it down. Dremel, I mean, if you do too much, you're gonna keep on going like further down, but you can do it. Yeah.
So I can envision how a breastplate works, I can envision how a helmet works. What about anything, like to be able to sit down, or is there just, you're not sitting down once you're wearing something like this, like?
No, well, that's where that's where you're not gonna actually connect things. So if you look at Iron Man cosplayers, they're like right at their hip joint, it's not connected. That's why they wear a bodysuit, so it looks like it's still connected at the rib, it's not. So that's why you always wanna leave the gaps.
That said, I wasn't sitting down my Iron Man. You,
Speaking of that, where do you get your bodysuits from?
I hate sewing spandex, it's the main of it. But if I can find a color I need, I just go to Amazon and get that and then airbrush or sew in details, whatever I need. If you need something like already 3D, like something that printed one, there's tons of it. There's RPC Studios, Zentai Zone. There's a lot of places you can go for bodysuits that already have like printed on patterns.
yeah. Rainbow Master?
When, speaking of the spandex undersuits, when you are airbrushing those, are you using the same paints that you mentioned earlier?
Yep.
Okay.
The Createx and Wicked colors, yeah. And
Does that like crack or anything as it stretches?
well, so that's the thing. So either want to wear it and have someone do it, have someone else wear it while you do it, that's your size, or that's where your dummy is going to come. But I just put my mannequin and airbrush it.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't ever just want to lay it flat because yeah, once you stretch it, it's not gonna. Once you put it on, it's not gonna. Right.
Yellow paper in front?
Do you have any experience with the 3D printable foam?
No, I had never even heard of 3D printing foam. Where do you get the filament for that?
Willow Creative on Twitter has all the info about it. She's been doing foam armor completely 3D printed.
That's Willow Creative?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, she just did the one with the stilts that she just did.
Do you do anything differently when you know your armor is going to be in a suitcase and being transported over them? Maybe not hardening it, or any trips? Tips for suitcase, like existing in a suitcase?
Yeah, I got you. No. There's really honestly there's no tricks. If it's like a helmet piece, then you might want to actually carry that on the plane. But laying pieces as flat as you can. Again, that's why I don't harden my phone, because I can my belts and stuff I can just push down. Yeah, there's really no trick for it.
I would recommend a hard case.
Yeah.
To protect it a little more.
You with the yellow shirt in the front row.
Two things. First off, word of caution for everybody who's thinking about putting in a painting booth in the basement. There are building codes that determine how far your microwave vent or oven vent needs to be away from a window. It's probably a good idea to find out what that dimension is and follow the same dimension. If you're going to be drilling a hole through your joist area in order to put a proper vent on your outside of your house, your paint booth, then you should probably take the extra step to find out what the distance is for that your building code wants to separate that from the window.
Also keep it away from your air intake on your
Same idea. Keep it away from your air intake. Find out what that minimum dimension is. That's my first.
Add on to that, there are, if you're like an industrial plant, you actually have to fill out an air permit to do a spray booth. So make sure wherever your air out is not near an air intake, because you're going to gas yourself.
Number two, and this is really changing the topic, I get that. Have you had any experience heating up and shaping acrylic?
Acrylic, I've done a little bit of shaping with acrylic. It's not easy because you have, actually my father did that sort of thing. He had this bending jig that would evenly heat up the acrylic along the line, and then you could grade it that way, like for making signs or sculptures or things like that.
How thick are the pieces are you talking?
Well, the test piece I had, you know what a weed burner is?
What's that?
Weed burner.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I used a weed burner outside on a test piece, about 18 inches by 18. And it's shapeable, it will do the job, but I quickly determined this is a whole other level of difficulty I don't want to get into. I just want, hoping somebody else had some experience. Okay.
Okay, we were at noon, but screw the time. We'll stay here until the next panel kicks us off.
I'm on the next panel.